Ladies and gentlemen, it might be a shocker to you, but I beseech thee to take it in and breathe it in. 2020 is over. And we welcome you all to our first official recording of a new episode of BvG in the year of our Lord, 2021.
That one feels real good.
Feels good to kick that zero down. It's a shame because I know that 2020 was a year when most of us began this decade. We were like, yes, let's go. This is going to be the roaring 20s. And it became pretty abundantly clear after 5 months where it's like, oh, this is going to be pretty bad. Which to be fair, I think we'll look back on 2020 and be like, this was quite historical as far as bad things going.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bad.
Did it really take 5 months? I feel like it was even faster than that.
4 months, 3 months, maybe max. I think in March when the stock market.
That was the hard shutdown, or the hard quarantine shutdown was like March. So it only took 3 months.
I'd say 4 months because I think it took about a month for us to realize this won't be gone through a solution.
Oh, that's true. That's a solid point. Yeah, it probably took that 1 month to be like, hey, this hasn't gone yet. Like, why is this still happening?
Right. I think at least for me,
that's solid.
I recall it wasn't until around May where I was like, this is going to take a moment, isn't it? And by the way, folks, I want you all to think that this is going to be a doom and gloom podcast as much as it will be a retrospect on 2020 because the year just concluded and our prospects for 2021. So this episode's versus will be 2020 versus 2021, which is a pretty obvious. I mean, gosh, I would certainly hope 2021 wins unless there's a meteor I don't know about. But we shall see.
It's meteor, definitely meteor.
I think Scott and I will be on the same team. This isn't going to be myself taking one side versus another because the future's still unwritten at this point. But us just sharing our thoughts of 2020 and what we hope for 2021. Scott, what do you think about that?
I like it. I think it'll be good. And I'm glad I have a beer.
My phone just agreed with us. Let me put that on silent mode here. Well, I got some rum and coke myself. And I think we should just kick things off. Scott, how are you doing? How was your holiday?
Oh man, it was really good. I took extra time off. I had 9 days at home, which was great. So I just hung out with the missus and Violet, and we had a really good Christmas together and gave our daughter tons and tons of gifts and stuff, and she got her special gift from Uncle Carver, which was very sweet. And
I love that though.
Little pegboard sort of game. It reminds me of the granted, it isn't this because a 1-year-old could not play this game, but it reminds me of that game that you would play at Cracker Barrel with the triangle and the piggies.
I know you're talking about. Yeah. That's a fun game.
If that were a square, it would remind me. It would look just like that.
I'm so glad she likes it. I have no kids of my own. So to have I actually have a biologically a nephew and some nieces, but then I have Violet who's feels like my niece. Yeah, I'm gonna send her a Christmas gift. I want to make sure she's having some fun with bonus toys because what at this point in my life it's what are you gonna do, Carver? Spend it on Lego for yourself, you sad man. But yes. Honestly, I actually had a discussion with some friends about this so there is a big point in life, in my opinion, is when you gain the life experience and perspective of being able to look back and see what is now important to you as an adult. Not saying you can't enjoy things as an adult like cartoons or toys or candy, but at the same time, you start to develop a taste for other things. I recall as a kid being obsessed with video games and being very sucked into myself. And now as an adult, I wouldn't like if Scott, like I went to come and visit you and Lauren, and you're like, let's all just kick back and have a drink and relax, enjoy each other's company. Like kid me would be like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Adult me is like, this is delightful. Shut up, kid me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you, man. I mean, you and I, we basically had most of our childhood together, at least our like later childhoods where like all we were doing was playing video games. Be like, oh, your great Aunt Nellie's come to visit. I don't care. Where's my Halo?
Right. Well, Scott here in particular got to see a side of me, because I'm sure some of the audience listening right now, you all are associated with my voice through my content. Scott has known me since I was in the 9th grade. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think that's when we met. I think we met when we were 15. We were
2000,
both like 15-ish.
2004 or so. So like Scott's known me for years of me being unbearable and stuck up and full of myself, still trying to figure things out. So
so harsh on yourself.
No,
you're
Scott.
I know. I'm not here we go. So I'm not 100% disagreeing, but you're definitely your own worst enemy. Well, I was such an a-hole.
I am my biggest critic. Scott.
I was selfish. I slapped babies.
I couldn't help it. They were asking for it. No. So actually, here, before we really hop into the 2020 versus 2021 thing, and we'll keep discussing. We will get there. We'll talk about Christmas and holidays. But I had a dream last night that was one of the most vivid, long dreams I've ever had in my life, where I was back at Shiloh Hills, the high school that Scott and I went to. And I remember walking through the hallways, and it felt so vivid, where I thought I was back in my body when I was a 9th grader. Or no, I'm sorry, it was 2007. I vividly recall that. And I was walking around. I'm like, Watkins, Smothers, where am I? Mr. Redberg, hello. But the thing is, my current brain was in my body. And I was like, what's wrong? It was weird. I was like, wait, where am I? Was everything for the next 14 years a facade? A blur? I was scared. But I remember freaking out in the hallway, being like, because I was in the high school hallway with like the lockers. And I was like, wait, where am I? Oh my gosh, Laura, my girlfriend. I'm like, where is she? She's gone? She wasn't real? What about my family, my friends, my life? Like, what? It was all fake, and I was freaking out.
Geez.
And part of me stopped. I'm like, hold on. I know what stocks are about to do really well, so at least there's that. So I will at least be rich. But
I'm gonna ride this right back through.
right. With a golden spear, we're gonna take this by the horn. But
you'll be investing in Pfizer, I'll tell you what.
Right. Or I'll be running around China with a tennis racket, being like, "Stay away from that." But I honest to God, I remember walking outside the school, being like, "Oh no, everything's so real. Nothing is fake. It has to be real." And I saw one of the teachers, Mr. Newton, and he was playing golf with robot arms and legs, and his legs and his arms were robotic pogo sticks. And I was like, it has to be real.
It must be. I was doing all these things. I remember those robo arms.
Right. He was
like, strong robotic arms.
I was freaking out. I was like, he has his pogo arms. It has to be real. And I woke up and I was like breathing heavily, because it was a weird retrospective. Like, okay, so time has passed. It's been a decade and a half nearly since that time, which is insane to think about. Actually, I was thinking about 2012 recently, and I'm like, that was over almost a decade ago. I'm like, 2012. And I recall in 2012 where I was like, wow, this is the cutting edge. Like, here we go. And now it's been 10 years almost later. I'm like, wow, 2012, that was a while ago. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess to bring this all into our conversation is time stands still for no person. And thank goodness, because there are some years where you kind of hope that is the case. And 2020 is one of those times where it's like, okay, we're done. Moving on.
Yeah. Moving on. Absolutely. Well, let's move on to your Christmas, good sir. How was it? How is everything with you got Laura at home now, so that's great.
Yeah, my girlfriend Laura, she moved back. We're now living together in a townhome. We're still going through the phases of moving in, which have been going smoothly. And you kind of brace yourself for certain check boxes in life. And this definitely feels like one of them where it's like, oh, we're getting a new oven tomorrow.
Ooh.
Right. It's like, as an adult, you're like genuinely excited, like, haha.
No,
Like,
that's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
As an adult, like, okay, Scott, relate with me here, bro. But like, let's say you opened a present during Christmas and it's a brand new sweater or a jacket or a pair of boots or socks or a booze or something
Mm-hmm.
or a bag of jerky. You're like, yes, I am about this. Like, let's go. Versus as a kid, where you're like, as a kid, you're like, this isn't the newest Game Boy DS. Like,
you got me the old. I wanted Pokemon Gold.
Right. This isn't Duke Nukem Forever. Garbage.
Absolutely. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. The list you just went through, like I received like half of those items just this year from varying family members, and even the socks. I was like, oh, yes. And I've worn them now, and they're like the best socks. Like
there's something
they're
about
my best socks that I own already.
Right. So there's something about the power of a good sweater, jacket, socks, because you use them a lot. And let's say you start your day off, you take a nice hot shower, you get your nice hot coffee, and then you're like putting on your nice warm socks. And you're like, oh, these are Christmas socks. It's gonna be a good day. Like, So there's something universal about that I think is mighty relatable and comforting. Where like right now we're clicking over that, like a nice pair of warm socks from like your mom or your dad or whatever, and it's like, yeah, that is to me a crowning moment of a common denominator for older adults, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm about this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's all the more special. And like, dear friends out there that maybe you are actually married, like myself, or have a significant other that you've been with a long enough time. But getting Christmas socks from your SO, as you put it before, but in this case, my wife, it just made it like all the better in some way. I'm like, oh, you get me. You knew I needed these socks without me asking, and you made it happen.
I'm gonna get you one more, Scott. All right, here we go. All right. It's like what, 2 a.m. Okay. You just put out the presents under the tree for your kid. All right. And you sit down on your couch or recliner or your chair, whatever. And you take a mighty deep breath of like, we did it. The cookies are out and on the plate. The milk is in the cup. And you're like, Christmas is ready. And then your wife or your SO or whatever walks up to you, gives you a kiss on the cheek, gives you a cookie, and says, good night, honey. And he goes to bed. And you're just sitting there with the Christmas lights on and a fire going. And you're like, this is a divine moment of existence, of like, take it in. Like, I don't know. Like, my clock. I'll cut this out of the podcast.
It's all good, man. I don't care.
Divine moment. The clock tolls for thee. Oh no. I say, there, boy. What day is it? What day is it?
The first ghost around the stroke of one.
Do not ask who the bell toes for. Toes for thee. There'll be 11 gongs here, Scott. I'm so sorry. No, keep it in the podcast.
The bell toes.
Dude, I watched at least 5. I'm keeping this in because it's relatable. I watched at least like Muppet Christmas Carol like 4 times.
Oh,
4 times.
best one.
It
Best one.
it is really good because they play it very
So great.
straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, it's not just us being goofy Muppets, which that element does exist, but it doesn't overplay. They still play it as in like, no, this is a Charles Dickens adaptation with the serious themes of life and death and redemption
Mm-hmm.
and things that are written in stone and things that may yet be. And
Yeah.
and it works well. It works really well with the Muppets. It really does.
Yeah, I think part of now, granted, you're right. Like the comedy is subdued to where it's not like constant slapstick. But I personally find that part of it that works so well is that most of the comedy in that movie, it was reserved for
Yes,
the duration of the songs.
that's a good point.
I think they reserve most of the comedy to occur in the length of the song, even if there's like a small break, like between like one refrain and another refrain, where maybe there's just like some idle chit chat or something, or just a little joke. It's still just like most of it was confined into that song. So that way, whenever the song is over, it's like back to the real story.
And you get like Rizzo and Gonzo doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a point in the movie where those two go, "All right, things are getting scary. Scary. We're going to we'll meet y'all in the finale." I like
Yes.
that,
Yeah. Yeah. When the ghost of Christmas Future comes. That's right.
which is appropriate because I feel like at that point Gonzo and Rizzo would have kind of like not usurped, but like watered down the seriousness of this scene because it's a moment of like
Mm-hmm.
redemption of like sorrow where he's really brought down low by the loss of Timmy. I almost said Timmy Turner. By Timmy Turner. By
Tiny
Bob
Tim.
by Tiny Tim by Bob Cratchit being like my son's dead. Bob Clampett. No, but like the it works well. It works well. It's a good. I watched someone with Jim Carrey, which I recall. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mm.
I recall watching that with you and Tyler Bowling back in the day. Do you remember
The
that?
the Jim Carrey one, like the CGI one.
Correct.
I I want to say that's probably true, but I don't particularly remember it. But with all honesty, that is not my version of the Christmas Carol. Like, it's not bad. Like, I would never say that it is poorly done or poorly executed. Like, it's very well made and it's very well done, and I have seen it like twice. And I don't hate it, but when I'm like, honestly, this is going to turn into a Carol versus Carol episode.
I mean, good. Who would win? Yeah, I like that.
But honestly, like, I don't care for the Jim Carrey one as much as Jim Henson because
Well
it's
said.
just, to me, I I really want to actually read the Christmas Carol eventually, but to me, I don't want a super dark, stuffy Christmas movie. I just don't. It's not what I it's not the part of the season that I want. I like what the movie means, of course, but I'm like, to me, the Jim Carrey version, it's a little too serious. And I was like, oh, Jim Carrey, this ought to be, maybe it'll be a little funny. But like, he's a terrific voice actor and he does a lot of amazing work with the characters with all the characters he has to do. But it's like, it's too heavy handed for me. It
Yeah,
gets real creepy when it gets like legitimate scary when the ghost of Christmas Future shows up. Like that horse and buggy that's like chasing him, and it's like, oh, it's like, oh, it's chilling.
have you ever seen a movie called The Krampus?
No, Tyler loves it. I
Yes,
haven't seen
yes,
it.
yes. There's my guy. Laura and I watch it every single Christmas. It is
Oh
from
wow.
It's from a director named Mike Dougherty. He
Uh-huh.
did Trick or Treat, the Halloween horror movie. It's like an anthology series. He did an anthology series of like different like Halloween stories that are all kind of weaved in together. Very good. Highly recommend for Halloween. He did King of Monsters with Godzilla, which I have some gripes with, but where it mattered most, he delivers. But Krampus is based on, I believe it's German.
Yeah,
The
it
German
is. I know about Krampus, but you're right. It is German.
It's great. It's a really good. I have some issues with it here and there, but overall, it's a nice little Christmas horror movie of all things. And
it's fairly comical too, isn't it?
it is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Almost to a fault to a degree, where it's like it's not like Jason or Freddy or Pinhead or whatever, or The Hills Have Eyes, heaven forbid.
Oh,
it's
God.
like no, it's like silly like gingerbread men and stuffed animals attacking people, and the Krampus shows up at the end. So they blended in quite well, where you got these horror elements of monsters and humans fighting back with guns and knives, versus like these creatures that aren't like it's fun dumb horror versus nihilistic or terrifying or gut-wrenching or demonic levels. I mean, it's demonic in the sense of like it's a Krampus and his underworld minions, but like we're going to get you, versus like I'm a demon in a corner of a room looking at you. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, gotcha.
So in that regard, I truly think Krampus is fun. It's a lot of fun, Scott. I think Tyler saying that he likes it reinforces my love in the movie that much more.
Yeah, Tyler. This is the Tyler, my brother, who we've mentioned, I think, in multiple episodes of podcasts.
Oh, Tyler's legendary. How can you not mention him?
he loves Krampus. He actually owns I want to say 7-foot tall Krampus animatronic that he had out on display for Christmas this year.
Dude, I love it. You're making me miss Tyler. Like we all got to hang out here in the near future and like go to the train cart in downtown Woodstock, get steak sandwiches and smoke cigars and drink whiskey. That
sounds like a horrible night.
It sounds awful. Jeez, how about we survive? I genuinely miss Tyler. Tell him I said hi when we talk to him next. There was an era of fun where Scott, Tyler, and I would hang out from like 2012 or 13 to like 15 and just go to their home and just hang out and play games and film skits. And that was so much fun. That was a golden era of like,
man.
It was a weird blend of like autonomy as adults, but also being dumb enough to be like, act like kids, being goof offs.
Yes. We did some of the skits we filmed, man. They were great. Like, they were dumb. Some of them were dumb, but some of them were like, I still like when you came over last time, like however many months ago it was, that we kind of watched through some of them with Lauren because she had never seen them. I was like watching through them. Like, I was like, no, that was funny. Like, that was just good humor.
Your wife's just shaking her head like, what did I marry?
Yeah, she says that every day. They didn't need those videos.
All right. So a good catch up then. Let's hit up the 2020 retrospect and kind of see what we're hoping for 2020. All right. I want to say with every fiber of my being, Secure 2020, it was awful. I know it's not a hot take, but at the same time, I think enough folks say it that we get numb to the idea of 2020 being awful. But yet I will say again, it was truly, truly awful. We lost a lot of big names. We lost a lot of folks who were just average folks living their lives. It was a rough year. Had to fall into a year of re-election, which was always never fun. Yeah. We had so many things where it's like it was hard for folks to see each other, hard for folks to for work, there's wildfires in the world with like Australia and California. Kobe died.
I forgot that the wildfire in Australia happened this year.
That was like
I already thought that was last year. Well, I mean, technically it is, but you mean 2019 last year.
Kobe died. Ken Jennings, I believe. Is it Ken Jennings? No. It's not him. Who was the guy who was Alex Trebek died?
Yeah, Alex is gone. That's right.
There were some big names who died. Where, I mean, again, eternity calls all of our names, so folks will die. But it just seems that 2020 in particular claimed a lot. Chadwick, I think that's his name. Chadwick
Boseman.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Yeah, Black Panther, he's gone.
He was so young, and when I heard the full story about how he did his career while not like getting public sympathy for his cancer, he's like, I'm gonna keep fighting and I'll keep doing my job. They don't need to know this. I can do my life. And it's like, dude, like you absolute king. Like you did acting on that caliber while fighting cancer. God, how? So rest in peace to him. Mighty rest in peace to him. Um, we lost. I don't know. It just seems that like, I guess also when we're by ourselves and we can't really like in a physical way like lean on each other, it things kind of amplify as far as how awful they are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you don't have a shoulder. You don't have a shoulder to cry on. You don't have a friend to be happy with as much because I'm like, and on a personal take for me, I'm like, my I don't want to say seriousness, certainly not, but my take on the happenings of 2020 as it got later and later in the year began to kind of just change out of just sheer exhaustion of basically out of sheer exhaustion of all the quarantining. Like I was like it started off where I was like, yeah, let's quarantine, let's shut it down, let's beat this thing, flatten the curve.
Yeah.
And I was glad to be a part of that. Like I believed it was the right thing to do. And then it just got longer and longer and longer. And I'm just kind of like, I was, it wasn't even just so much that I was like ants in the pants. I mean, like I was having to go out to work with it every day. Like I thankfully did not lose my job. Like I'm so sorry for all those who did. But being what was thankfully considered like what do you call it? A frontline worker that I am because I'm providing like cleaning agents. I was still able to maintain work and I was out and about doing a lot of stuff. So my version of quarantine was not really that much like other people's. But I gotta say, I'm like, I started to wonder. I was like, how effective is this quarantine becoming since it's just constantly getting worse and everybody's already quarantined? Like, what do we do next? It's one of those things where I was like, what? You know what I mean?
It was a tough. In hindsight, like I say this from a position of absolute privilege because I work from home. Like the contact I have with people is all up to me, and I barely saw anybody from like gosh March to like July. It was like maybe might wave to the Starbucks person. That's it, or my Uber Eats driver dropping off food. But the truth of the matter is a lot of folks can't just stop working. That's their livelihoods, and I wish that, not to get political, but I wish there were more programs in store to like help folks out in those situations. But yeah, we flatten the curve, but then it's like we can't just stop working. Like people need to, they have their jobs, their careers, they can't just stop because the night because they risk physical like harm through COVID, but then they also, if they don't go to work, they risk financial bankruptcy. So it's tough. It's tough. It's a really weird catch-22. And
it really is. I saw a lot of it having, working with a lot of small restaurants and stuff. I'm like, I thankfully have not seen a horrible number, but I have seen some very nice people, and they're like some wonderful little restaurant owners.
lose it,
Like
right?
they went under. They're
Yeah,
gone.
same. I live in a small town and I drove around the main street and I'm like, oh no, there's like at least 10 or so local restaurants that have gone under. I'm like, gosh, because so for those who don't know, launching a restaurant or a small business is one of the most difficult things you can do in a first world sense, but like still very very challenging with the amount of debt you take on, with the amount of work you take on. You've got to keep at it for years before you break even. And if you have got one bad year, it could kill you. And guess what? That's what happened for a lot of these folks, where they lost their entire client base because they couldn't. And even then, if you switch over to delivering, you're still not making as much as you would have made with foot traffic. And you're also paying a weird delivery fee with Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub and stuff. All I'm trying to say is that like it's been a difficult year. it's been a very difficult year, and I really wish, like, I'll say this though, also not to get political. I wish we had better leaders across the board. Um, it was something where I feel like we weren't really ready for, nor did a lot of folks adapt to very well. It could have been far worse. It could have been far better. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, the light as at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there. Gosh, let's get this vaccine out and get back to our lives. That's where I stand at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to see people get to go back to work. I'm like, they want to push another like stimulus check, and I want, like, I'm all for doing it if it's a decent amount to get to people, but I'm just kind of like, we just need people to go be able to work again. Like, let's not worry about stimulus checks every other week. Let's get it open.
What is it now? Like, apparently Australia and Canada have been getting stimulus checks like every other week or month or something like that. And I'm like,
I don't know. I'm not
like,
sure about them.
I'm like, you sons of guns.
Yeah.
So by the way, for
yeah.
I was looking through different folks who passed away this year. Not to get down and pessimistic on our podcast.
So far we have not. We've gone from it's not going to be a humdrum, really down, depressing podcast. Well, far.
Let me just go through this list real fast. So we got Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or Ruth Badersburg. I forget her name all the time. So she was
Shouldn't laugh.
Right. No, I mean, it's me. You're laughing at, not her. She passed away. She was a Supreme Court justice. I mean, for what it's worth, I think she actually had a more compass, and it's sad to lose her. Sean Connery died this year. That's kind of like, wow, Sean Connery.
Honestly, I think that was probably the guy I was most upset about.
Yeah, dude. His last movie was an animated film I reviewed back in 2017 called Sir Billy. So it was bad. So we got Alex Trebek passed away. David Prowse, who was the physical actor for Darth Vader, passed away this year.
Yeah, I feel like did we lose like 2 original Star Wars actors this year?
I think so. We got Eddie Van Halen passed away.
Yeah, that's right. He's gone too.
We got Little Richard passed away.
I did not even know that.
Yeah, right.
That one went under my radar.
Right. There's a few people. John Lewis of Georgia passed away.
That I knew about.
Oh God, that's right. Regis passed away this year.
Yeah, the Reg.
Holy gracious! Kobe Bryant was one of the biggest upsets because it's like no, because like they're okay. So my buddy Jack's Blade. We've had a discussion about life and death, and that there are some folks who pass away in their late 80s or 90s, but there's a certain point where it's like, it's sad, but it's not tragic. I know it sounds weird. Yeah. Not to take away.
I fully understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The word tragic is that just, you have to assume that if you use the word that somebody's death was tragic, I would only assume that this person went well before their time.
Thank you. That's exactly it.
Yeah. If a death is sad, then it's like, oh, well, yeah, that person is no longer with us. It is sad. They've probably lived a good long life. But yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. I get
Kobe that. And it was his daughter too. Died in
that was I was. And not to dismiss any part of the tragedy that was Kobe Bryant, but I was really upset about the daughter and the daughters that I think one of the daughter's teammates was on there. So she and her little teammate were only like 13. Like that was terrible. That's the part that really got me.
Yeah,
personally,
young life dying, that's tragic because it hasn't had a chance to live, hasn't had a chance to enjoy, being an adult, being a kid, being a teenager, getting to grow old. It's like you're cut short. That's tragic. So Alex Trebek or Sean Connery, it's sad. But at the same and also I guess Alex is also tragic because he died of cancer. But still, like, an older life to me is not as tragic as like a young life. So yeah, I don't know. It's sad. Oh yeah, Stevie. Wait, hold on. Let me see here. Oh, that's right. Wilford Brimley died this year.
Which name is who is that?
Hi, I'm Wilford Brimley. I've got diabetes.
No, oh, no, did the diabetes finally get him?
Yeah, he died of
No.
a kidney ailment, and he was the guy who was also in John Carpenter's The Thing. He's a very good actor, but he passed away.
Wow. Dang. Yeah, wow. That is an exhaustive list. Or exhausting list.
Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's father, passed away.
Man.
Oh God, that's right. Ian Holm passed away. Ian Holm is, and by the way, I don't want to get like stuck on the sadness, but I feel like this is a good place to at least remember those we lost. Ian Holm was Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. He was.
Oh no.
Yeah, he died at 88. So again, not tragic.
Oh yeah.
But still missed. Ian Holm, he died of Parkinson's. Rest in peace. But he was a fantastic actor. So he was a person who, when I was in middle school and high school watching Lord of the Rings, I was like, oh, it's Orlando Bloom and Ian McKellen. I didn't really pay attention to Ian Holm as Bilbo until after I became an adult, and I look back and I watched like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he truly nailed the role of Bilbo Baggins. Like nailed it. Where he's a bit of a smarmy, smart alecky kind of guy, but he
Yeah.
also longs for adventure and also has a loving heart. Like, gosh, dude, like I've been thinking a lot about Lord of the Rings recently. Like, there's a not I guess this is a tangent. It is a tangent, but like I watched that scene recently where it was the moment in the Siege of Minas Tirith where Gandalf and Pippin were kind of held up in a corridor of the castle, and the orcs and the trolls were trying to break through to kill the last guards of the city. And Pippin goes, I didn't think it would end like this. And Gandalf looks at him. He's like, end? Oh, no. It doesn't end here. And he kind of explains like heaven, where he's like, the shining silver like of the water, and it parts, and you see the world beyond of like what's after this life. And the way they deliver that scene where you got like Ian McKellen like taking a deep breath and just being like, oh, paradise. And Pippin's like, that doesn't sound so bad. And Ian McKellen and Gandalf's like, no, it's not. Because he's been there. Because he fought the Balrog and went there. And he was there for centuries before he came back. And he's like, oh no, Pippin, it is not bad at all. I'm like, wow, what a powerful scene. Like, I was reading through the YouTube comments, and even got atheists who are like, oh my gosh, like this scene made me feel something. And I'm like, that's good storytelling. When you can make someone of any walk of life relate to it, or at least feel something, that's when you know you told something right. So I guess to circle it back into Ian Holm, wonderful Bilbo. I remember they had a Zoom call for the Lord of the Rings cast, and he unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but he sent a letter saying, my love to the crew, hope you all are well, take care. And it's like that was the last thing we heard of him before he passed. So yeah, rest in peace, Ian. Sorry, tangent.
That's a nice upswing tangent, so I'm glad of that.
Yeah, he lived a long life. He lived a very long life. All right, should we start taking aim at 2021 and the hell we're gonna break out as far as like making this our year of reclamation?
Yeah, I think we can get there. But I gotta say one thing, and I want to ask you this as well. Thinking back on 2020 for your very personal life, how did you fare? You know what I mean? Like, because I'll start by kind of telling my own, because I'm like, 2020 as a whole for our nation and the world was tough. It was very, very bad. But I gotta say, I'm like, wanting to put any sort of positive light on the whole year was that I got to see the first year of my little girl. Was all of 2020, you know.
You got to see your daughter like grow up.
Yeah, I'm like, she turned 1 in October of 2020, so it wasn't even that long ago. So I'm like, for me, like on a personal level, like 2020 was it was tough in its moments for sure. Like having to tell my parents they can't come over and see their grandkid because, hey, you shouldn't leave the house, especially because both my parents are over 70 and stuff like that. And, oh, you have a cold? Well, or I have a cold, so I definitely can't see you this week. Sorry. Any form of sickness, like especially this year was like, hey, I can't even give you my cold because if you catch a cold, that could lead to anything. Like that'll just weaken your immune system. So I'm not coming over, kind of thing. But I'm like, I look back on the year 2020 and I think I will reflect on it in a very even way. Like I will reflect on it, I think, with a little fondness, only because of getting to my daughter's first real year of life and hanging out with her, and I don't know. I feel like I feel almost selfish. So I'm like, it wasn't that bad
No,
for
no,
me.
no, 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 Scott. If it makes you feel any better, like I'm there with you in different capacities. Where it's like, got so I had my best year of my career this year with viewership and statistics, and also my girlfriend, to wrap the year up on a tight little bow, like came home and now we're living together, and it's the beginning of a new chapter. It came at the 11th hour of the year. Gosh, 12th hour of the month. It was December, like the last part of the year. She came back, and now we're together, and it's like, I don't know. It's on a micro level for myself, for my life. Like I did much better, and I continue this upswing. Now, albeit there were things where like I have through proximity of my family, they had their hardships, or I've had some family who got COVID, survived, thank God. Have their own uphill battles with their own health. With like my father's been struggling with his foot. He has some gout issues with his blood clots, and hopefully he's not listening to this. And he's like, Steven, shut up. But like still, it's something where like when we grow up, we never stop growing up. Our parents never stop growing up. We grow up with them, and it's weird to see when our family, our loved ones, start to lose the way. Like my dad, dude, he's been an athlete for his entire life. You know this. You played him in racquetball.
Yeah, he almost killed me.
He almost did. He certainly did. And now his leg's not doing so hot, and I my heart breaks for him. I want him to be better.
Yeah.
I know that extended families had it hard, and sometimes they've had it good. I mean, I, honest to God, thought I would lose Lammy this year too. There was a point.
That's right. I remember you having that brief scare of
Yeah.
of little Lammy.
Yeah, he it was right after a week after my birthday in October, and he had a stroke, and I thought I was going to be the end of it, because I've been told that strokes are typically like the harbinger of death for most creatures, and I was like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. Like, no, I'm not ready, and I'm looking at him right now, and he's standing around like a dork, and he's fine. So,
yeah. Let me sit down.
Honest to God, let me sit down. But he's doing great. So as great as he can at post stroke victim, his eyesight's tanked, but he's still walking and talking, and eating, and not talking. Well,
he gained an ability after
what the hell? What happened? But all in all, though, on a micro level, my life has been pretty great, and
I'm glad to hear that.
And thank you, and likewise to you with your daughter. I think you and Lauren are participating in one of the greatest experiences of the human experience, and that's raising a child. Like, honestly, you could, like, it, at the end of the day, if we're all lucky enough to find ourselves in our own deathbeds, and we're like looking back on our lives, I can't imagine a greater accomplishment or feeling than saying I've raised a child. Like, I'll be on my deathbed, I'd be like, what? Give me my plaque.
Oh, don't say that. Now it's depressing.
Like Scrooge McDuck or Scrooge, I don't know. Tuppence is tuppence. But that all being said, Scott, let's hit it up. What are you hoping for 2021?
Oh man, I am looking forward to a lot more. Golly, I don't know. There's so much flooding in. I mean, honestly, to bring it in a very micro way, which I believe I like the way you put that. I am looking very forward to all the future episodes of BvG.
Oh gosh.
I cannot wait to do more recording already. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to do more stuff.
Can we take a quick moment to thank our viewers? Guys, thank you all for honestly supporting us. We were talking before we started recording, being like, it's so cool because it's the best point of creating something, or the people who are like the core viewers who hang since day one and stick with us. Thank you. We really do appreciate your viewership, and we hope that you all are doing well.
Yeah, we really do. I hope that all of you can look back on 2020 and think of at least one or two good things that have happened to you personally. Removing yourself from the whole and just trying to remember, like, you know what? That happened and I'm glad it did. Kind of thing. Like, just I hope that there's people out there that can remember 2020 outside of just the fiery turd that it pretty much was.
Yeah.
But I also want to put out, I don't remember their usernames, but I have really been appreciating some of the chatter and the chats I've had on Twitter with people. It's been so much fun talking to you guys. And I will call out specifically Feline Great. They did some artwork for us that is so good. I showed it to you, Carver.
It's amazing with the waffle and pancake. It's God.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. We have an episode coming up that we're very excited about. It has. Do you just want to announce it?
No, you announce it.
Oh, okay. I will. Thank you, sir. We have an episode coming up that is waffles versus pancakes, and we could not be more excited about that one. Now, we're going to have to wait a little bit on it. We've got some episodes ahead of that, but you're going to love it. It's going to be so much fun. And Feline Great, thank you for the artwork that you gave us for that. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Oh, God. But thank you guys so much for being with us.
Waffles win.
A little peek into, that's a lie. I destroy you. Oh gosh. But thanks again, guys. Thanks for listening in and hanging out with us and chatting back with us and following us on all those different socials and stuff. Like, we love you guys. This is why we do it. We want you to feel like you're sitting with us at the table, if you're old enough, knocking back a beer and just talking about whatever comes to mind.
Remember that pumpkin and that donut beer we had back in October?
Which one was it? Say it again.
It was like a Dunkin' Donuts donut beer.
Yeah, you brought them. I remember you came down and you brought these Dunkin' Donuts flavored beers. By the way, I eventually tried the Jelly Donut IPA.
What you think?
I hated it.
I loved it.
I hated it so much. I thought it was so bad.
Dude, I don't care for IPAs because they're a little bit too bitter.
Oh god, I hate them.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Speaking of how getting older, tastes change. That's another one where the older you get, biologically, unless I'm mistaken, but as an adult, your taste buds change, where you prefer bitter things over sweet things. As a kid, sweet things are super sweet, but as an adult, you start to adapt a taste for bitter things like dark chocolate and beer and things like that. Good stuff.
Dark
good stuff.
Chocolate.
All right.
But as far as the rest of 2021,
let's hear it. What are you hoping for?
Golly, I mean, I talked to a buddy of mine in Seattle. Just wished him a happy new year, and he was kind of like, here's to just hoping things get back to normal. And my only response to him, which was, of course, yeah, but I was kind of like, I hope it's more of the old normal and not the new normal, if that makes any sense.
Dude, I want no, I'm with you. I fully understand. Because there's I'll take a little bit of column A and column B. Let me tell you. Where, for example, there are some industries that have realized that you have workers who could work from home, and it's better for them, and it's better for on a production level and on a company
Yeah.
and financial level. Cool, run with that. But at the same time, I miss going to restaurants with my family. I miss going to a bar and talking to a random drunk. I miss going to any social gathering that where I initially thought it was kind of awkward and not fun. I miss a lot right now.
Yeah.
I genuinely miss. So I personally feel like, and I don't speak for everyone, but there are certain social interactions of the human experience that we've been like subdued for this year for reasons, but it's like I miss it. I gosh, just like walk up to a person and not have to worry about a mask or the social like awkwardness of it all, where you can just
Hmm.
be like, oh, I'm gonna be in line at Starbucks without a mask and get a coffee and say thank you and tip them and walk out. Like I miss that. Hold the door for somebody. Hey, thank you. Have a good day. Done. Like those
Yeah.
those those little things. That kind of status quo. I want that. I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, mean, down here in Georgia, like a lot of things have been pretty much most businesses, if they made it through the big shutdown, a lot of businesses are right back open again. And even the restricted occupancy is dang back is close to, I think it's close to normal again. Like I think it's very generous for being a restricted occupancy. But the problem is that people still aren't super comfortable going back inside where they are like closer to others and strangers. Because like the inside of a lot of restaurants right now, it's like every other table will have a sign out saying unavailable, essentially. Um, and I get that. I mean, I definitely do. Even though realistic, in my personal belief, I'm just kind of like those tables are far enough apart, guys. Like,
Dude, I told this to Laura and her friends, where it was a picture of like this Mexican restaurant in my town. I'm sorry. I could relate to the picture via the Mexican restaurant in my town, but it was a picture of an outside tarp of a building, and
yeah,
it's like we can't eat inside, so we'll eat outside, but bring inside with our outside, and it's like
yeah. That
what?
is that is what people are doing. Restaurants are getting so okay, so Georgia, no surprise, is pretty dramatically split between like like to a degree, the further north you go, the less concerned people are really with like, oh, I still don't feel comfortable eating inside a restaurant yet. Like pretty much people are pretty much ready to get back to normal, which generally that's that belief of wanting to get back to normal is across the board. But the further south, when I go work in like Decatur, the further south of Atlanta and closer to Atlanta I go, these restaurants are like, when everything's first started getting back going, especially during like the latter half of summer and the early fall, and even just before it started getting cold down here, like people were doing really well. The patio work was like way up there. You know what I mean? Like everybody was like, "Oh, we can at least go sit on the patio. Let's go sit on the patio. We can get outside. Let's go sit on the patio. It's a beautiful
Right,
day. Let's get out the
right.
patio."
It doesn't make sense.
So
It's
like
like it's like we're taking
they
inside outside.
Yes. So these restaurants, so even now it's getting colder. So people like these restaurants that were like, okay, finally people are coming back to the patio. Those patios aren't going to be that great anymore when it's like, 30 degrees and stuff like that. So these restaurant owners are getting so creative with like their this is how we're going to make the patio still relevant even when the cold winds are
Dude,
blowing. I'm like, it's
I
wild. Like they're building shelters, like you're saying, they're building like special shelters that extend beyond the doors. Like they're putting in like fireplaces within these shelters to trap all the heat in. I'm like, it's getting like, wow. I'm kind of something for a few of them. I'm like, are you sure that pass fire code? Because I think you're gonna burn yourself down.
right. All right, Scott, let's wrap up the podcast with our
Yes.
final our final well wishes to 2021, what we're hoping for. No, how about this? A big old FU to
Yeah.
2020.
Yep.
and then a big old what we're hoping for in 2021, and then we'll wrap things up. How about that?
Yeah, I still need to put like I almost want to try and come up with a prediction for 2021.
2020, I say to you, as an individual of a group of people where, like, I know a lot of people in my age group, both younger and also somewhat older, who just want to live our lives and be taken care of. Like, that's what we want. If it makes any sense, where it's like we want security, and we want to be able to live our lives without being held back. So 2020 was a year where it felt like we were like in a boxing ring with our hands handcuffed, and that sucked. Does it make sense? I like to think that that's a good example, where it's
So
like,
say it again. A box, like
it's
the
like,
imagery specifically.
it's like you're in a ring with a gorilla, and you're
Oh,
bear, and
well,
you're
the gorilla's gonna win.
and you're a bear, but your hands are handcuffed. That's what it felt like, where it's like we could have the ability to fight back, but our hands are handcuffed by a gorilla handcuffs. So
My gorilla handcuffs on a bear. Gotcha.
right.
The gorilla put the handcuffs on the bear because of those thumbs.
The bear's like, you bastard. No. And my wishes for 2021 is, on a micro level, to sound selfish, to see my family, to see my friends, to partake in the simple things of life. Of hold on 1 second. Lammy just fell off the chair. Lammy, you dumb.
Poor Lammy. Poor Lammy.
Let's see. I'll start over.
That's fine. We can just cut it.
All right, sorry. I heard the forward where he's like, oh. He's
Poor buddy. Poor buddy.
My hopes for 2021, not to sound selfish, but on a micro level, I want to see my friends. I want to be able to hug loved ones, go to the movies, go to restaurants, be able to walk around without the tension or fear of what's going on. And I say that as a person who acknowledges that there's a reason why we have to act the way we do and be socially conscious and do our due diligence. But I look forward to the moment when we can look, it's in the rearview mirror. We can go back to our old lives, where I can open the door for somebody at a grocery store or a coffee shop and go on. I'll wait in line after you. Don't have to worry about 6 feet of social distancing. And again,
I'll sneeze on your back.
I'll sneeze on your neck hairs. And again, I'm not saying that these things that we're doing are for naught, but at the same time, I look forward to when they won't be required. When we can go back to, like, I can go see my family for Christmas. I can go walk around town without having to worry about these things. If anything, 2020 gave me it definitely gave me an appetite for appreciating normal status quo things, and I look forward to that. So yeah, I think that's my hope for 2021, is just appreciating what a gift life was beforehand. So yeah, that's where I stand.
I like that for sure. I think if I had to choose like a thing that I'm looking forward to, and it's not even something that I do actively, but for the species of humankind, I look forward to events coming back. Because I have a lot of friends from when I used to be in the touring industry that have been like just the music industry is just in the pits, like beyond almost any other industry right now. The music industry is just in horrible shape. So a lot of these guys I used to tour with, not even just the musicians, but like the other like workers that I would tour with, they have been out of work for a long freaking time, and they don't have like any like that type of work comes with like no benefits. There's no like extra help from the job, because my job briefly was giving me personally, like giving the employees extra money to help out with stuff while work was slow. But like these guys get no net underneath them. It's like you are running your own business of just you, and you have to pay extra taxes and you get no benefits. It's tough. So these guys have been hurting bad. So I look forward to seeing the event industry start to reopen. Um, I know there are. I've with the guys I've talked to and the guys that I follow on the socials and stuff. I know there have been some small events happening specifically with churches and stuff because a lot of the music industry that I still have contacts with is like in the Christian worship industry, and they've been doing some stuff, which has been great to see. But as a whole, I hope bigger events start to really come through, like the conventions and all those other things. Because I'm like, a lot of those conventions, kind of like we were talking about before we even recorded, was like that's like a lot of people's main, not just their main form of like potential income or something along those lines, but like that's their main form of like social activity. So like that's what I want back. I want these conventions and like these groupings to be allowed again. That's what I mean, like I said, I don't even
Dude,
do them that often, but I'm like I miss them for the world, for the emotional health.
I think conventions, like for a lot of folks, they're definitely out of the norm, which makes sense because it's not like something most average people do. But like for what it's worth, I highly recommend conventions to most folks just to get out there and try it. It's alien, it's weird, it's bizarre, it's nerdy, it's fun. I
It
think it's
is. It's so fun. I've only been to two that I got to go with you, and being on the outside looking in, it's still so fun. It was such a
oh,
good time.
it's weird. It's weird, undeniably weird, but it's an experience. And
Yep.
if you can go in there with an open mind and accepting of
And an
nerdiness,
open wallet.
right? Yeah. But like I look at conventions as a fun checkpoint in life throughout the year, where
Yeah.
it's like get out there, have fun, spend money, eat good food, go to fun panels, goof with friends, rag on each other, travel,
Hmm.
like get to meet new people, get to meet old friends. Like that's, oh my gosh, that's the stuff that like on a fundamental level recharges your batteries and gets you home and you're like, that's what I work for.
Exactly.
That's what gets me up. Like it makes me excited. Like when Scott showed up to MomoCon in 20, I believe 18 or 19. I
I
remember
think
it was
I think
19.
night. Oh, well, didn't I well, didn't wasn't 19 my second one?
You showed up in 2018 one year by
Yeah,
yourself.
2019 was when I brought my buddy Justin.
Justin's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Justin's a good example of somebody who like, because Scott by proxy of my nerdiness is used to some of this stuff, but Justin was a bit more of like the status quo, like like 8 to 5 worker kind of guy. Not 8 to 5, but like, but for what it's worth, Justin also got a really big heart where he goes into things and he has an open mind. You can tell he's like excited about stuff. He's like, oh, cool, let's go. I think he can pick on. Justin's got a good sense of picking up on vibes on people and having fun. So
Yeah.
credit where credit is due. But
Yeah, he's a great guy to have with you pretty much anywhere.
yes, he's a really positive, fun, open-minded guy, and he kind of enhances your experience of life. Like when we're all drinking beer at Scott's not bachelor, but his bachelor party, and Justin's like, he's like, throw me a beer, and he's eating a hot dog, and it's like, so, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's such fun conversation. It's like, yeah, dude, this is stimulating conversation. Let's go. Like it's fun. He's a cool dude. Sorry, I'm ragging on Justin. But I recall a moment where Scott and my other friends online teamed up and were like dunking on me with like
Oh yeah.
where they're making fun of me. My online friends are joking on me because they know of me on a topical online sense, and then Scott's like, let me dust off Saber Sparks' old high school crush nonsense. I'm like,
Yeah.
Scott, no. and
I basically brought our high school yearbooks.
I was
Like,
dead.
look at these.
Dead man walking. I was like, oh no, I'm done. But like,
It was fun. It was really funny.
to harken back though on the conventions, that'll be a lot of fun. We hope, folks, that we can do a BvG podcast panel at an upcoming MomoCon or a convention here in the future. So
Yeah,
keep you all
that'd be
posted.
so fun.
But yeah, I think we're hoping that 2020 is in the review and that 2021 will be a lot more positive and that life will be kinder to us and life will return to normal and we'll have those moments to really embrace what we really miss. So I think that's where we'll end off on this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're ready for it. We're ready for 2021. We have been for a while. So stick with us, guys. We're just going to keep plugging through. We got our gorilla and bear arms wrapped around you tight.
We'll protect
Don't
you.
worry. You're safe. You're safe from harm.
We're gonna hold you safe and sound from the harms of this world with our big bear and gorilla arms.
That's right. That's right.
All right, folks. Scott, anything you want to say before we close out?
Just thanks so much again, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for talking with us. Thanks for being there with us. And yeah, we just can't wait to hear from you. We love y'all so much. God bless you. Stay safe. Continue to just create. You said it yourself, Carver. Now's a great time to create content. So
it is.
Get out there and create, guys.
All right. Love you, folks. Take care. We'll see you all next time. Have a good New Year.
Bye-bye.